Welcome back to Surviving and Thriving, where we share with you the things that we have learned as we have transitioned our family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it, in the hopes that something that we share with you will help you and enlighten you as you transition your family from struggling to survive disease to thriving right smack dab in the midst of it. When we're growing up, right, we're always asked, what do we want to be when we grow up? The teachers are asking us, life is asking us, and everything about life seems to be, what are you going to do? How are you going to affect this world? We're watching movies and even cartoons as a little kid, and there's always a hero or a heroine in it, and we imagine ourselves being the hero in our own story of our lives. And so we may oftentimes grow up having a sense of who we are, what we want to do, or who we want to be. And sometimes we grow up and we don't have that. But the search is always, who am I? What is my purpose, right? But if you were blessed to grow up and have an idea of who you wanted to be, what you wanted to be, what your impact would be on this world, and then you find yourself dealing with health issues, that can rattle you because you can find yourself being bedridden, going through some serious struggling and suffering at times. You can find yourself being housebound. You can find yourself not being able to do the things you once was able to do. And then you can feel like you're a weight and a burden because people need to help you. People need to help take care of you. And when you feel like a weight and a burden, you feel like you have no purpose, especially if you're bedridden. You can feel like you're just existing, that you're not living, you're just here. And that can cause you to go into a deep depression, into some other things. And we're not going to go into that today, but be wary of that. So we're going to talk about being purpose. Even though you grew up thinking your purpose was to manifest itself in a certain way, and you find yourself going through things, and now that purpose can't manifest itself in a certain way, does not mean that you can't still be purposed in that thing. It just may have to be in a way that you didn't foresee it being. It may have to come about in a way that you didn't picture it in your mind as to be. And that is okay. Still flow in your purpose if you can in that way. It may also be that you saw yourself flowing in a purpose. This is your purpose. This is where your life is going. And then boom, you're dealing with health challenges and you're no longer able to do that thing. That is something you are not going to be able to do. Oftentimes, in a lot of people's lives, you guys, they think their purpose for one thing, but life shows them that they have a purpose in another area, in another way. It's not what they thought. It's not what they hoped for. It's not in the direction that they were going in, but yet they are full of purpose and they have great impact in another direction, right? We had a mother whose child was killed by drunk driving, a drunk driver, and she stood up and took her pain, repurposed that pain, and use it to create Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So you have MAD. She took her pain and her loss and use it to affect a lot of other people, to help a lot of other people, and to prevent a lot of other people from having to go through what she went through. Did she think that when she was a little kid that was going to be her purpose? No. She didn't think her impact on this world was going to be having to lose a child to a drunk driver, but she took that pain and she repurposed it. So she might have thought that her life was meant to do one thing, but because of what happened to her, she found that her purpose was in another direction. So sometimes, you guys, we may think that we have a purpose in one way, but it may manifest in another way. It may be that our purpose is in a whole nother direction that we didn't think that it was. Also, we also need to consider repurposing in our lives, right? Taking what we're going through and turning that pain, turning that struggle around, and finding a way to use that to help other people and have a great impact in that way. So you may be going through, this is my repurposing, right? To help other people, to share my life with them, to show them the things that, tell them the things that I've gone through so that they can see and know that, number one, they're not in it alone, that these things are normal for what you're going through, how I navigated through it. So that way, maybe something I did might help them, or it may spark an idea for them in their own lives to help them to get through some of these things as well. So here I'm repurposing my pain. How can you repurpose what you're going through to help somebody else to get through what they're going through. You know, you may not feel comfortable sharing these things, but as I told you in the video before this, I'm talking about being purposed in it. If you haven't watched it, please go and watch Purposed in It on Surviving and Thriving. But you know, what you're going through and how you're living your life and how you're fighting and how you're overcoming is speaking, and that has great purpose in it, and it's touching so many people, and you're having great impact whether you know it or not, right? But there's other things that you could do, right? Perhaps you can know that people who are going through certain things that maybe you're going through, you know, they might feel lonely and they might be alone, and maybe you can start sending out care packages and create a foundation where care packages are being sent to people who are going through certain things like that, to bring hope and to bring light. There is something that you can do. You may understand the daycare needs of a person who's going through. You know, they may be having chemotherapy or different things like that, but they have children, and you understand that because you've been through it and you've overcome it. And so perhaps you can create something that can help people that are navigating through those things. Perhaps you're a caregiver and you understand some of the things you needed help with as a caregiver. So perhaps you can minister and help other caregivers who have a certain need that you had, and eradicate that need in their life to make their struggle a lot better. Sometimes, you guys, we have to repurpose things in our life. You know, we repurpose all the time, whether we know it or not. You know, you can get a TV tray. I have a TV tray right here, right? It's supposed to be where you can put your dinner on it and sit in front of the TV and eat. We don't very often do that at my house. We eat at the table a lot, but I still have TV trays. But you know what? Right now it's repurposed so that I can do this video. Sometimes it's repurposed as a desk, and I homeschool, and my children might pull a chair up and do their books, do their schooling on a TV tray. Sometimes it's been repurposed, and other times where I might put, you know, a nice cloth or a tablecloth over the top of it, and I might have some hors d'oeuvres or something on it, or some candles or something going on it if I'm having a gathering. So I repurpose this thing a lot. Just because I'm repurposing it does not mean that it's no longer useful as a TV tray. It's still useful as a TV tray, but I took it and I used it for something else. Sometimes I repurpose things that are no longer useful in its original state, but it's more useful now in another state. We repurpose every day, all day long. You can take a necklace sometimes and twist it around a braid, and now it's a hair decoration, right? Twist it around your arm, and now it's a chain on your arm. There's a lot of things that we repurpose in life and that we use. Sometimes we may call it rigging. We're rigging something, right? You might take a knife and use it as a screwdriver or something else. You repurpose that thing. You're using it for something, another purpose other than the purpose that it was intended for when it was created. So sometimes, you guys, we might have to repurpose our life. Sometimes we might have to repurpose our pain. But even though we're going through all these things, we still have purpose. And sometimes your purpose may not change, but it may manifest in a different way, a way other than what you thought it would manifest itself. But it doesn't change the fact that you still have purpose in what you're going through. So be encouraged. Hang in there. Find your purpose. Flow in your purpose at whatever level, at whatever state, in whatever way that you can, because I'm going to tell you something. Purpose will keep you alive. So, in all things, remember, do you. Until next week. Bye.